So I don't have any cutscenes yet, but the game is supposed to start with a little cutscene. Um, and I'll give the background too. The main characters are Lucent and Daniel, and they're both like 16, 17 years old. From there's two nations on the main continent, Helena and Irel, and these two young men are from the country of Helena, and they're very poor. Daniel's mother had been raising both of them, and she'd passed away, been supposedly killed by bandits a year or so prior, um, and so they're very poor, and they decide they're going to sneak on a ship and travel to the opposing country. The two countries are at an uneasy peace. So, war could break out at any time and there's a lot of hostility, but there's trade, there's not it hasn't been fighting for years. It's just kind of that, impending clash of nations. So they want to go to the opposing nation and steal a bunch of money from this, really well-known, the big um, precious stone mine quarry on the continent, the Nobel mines. They decide they're going to go there, steal a bunch of gems, and return home and be rich. Um, as typical with teenagers, they didn't really think the plan through that much. It just, kind of seemed like a good idea at the time. So they stow away on a ship and cross the ocean and make it to Nobel and go into the mines. So, anyways, they run through the mines and they've collected, they've stolen a bunch. And at one point, you see that they grab this stone that, it's distinct from the others, obviously important, kind of that, foreshadow highlight effect that they do in games and movies. So they grab them all and they start running and, dropping stones as they go and kind of laughing and, having a great time. And let's start this out. See what happens. Yay, it works. All right, so Daniel runs up ahead and says, "Hurry, or the guards will catch us." So it's standard turn-based fare here. The enemies do their thing. Oh yeah, I forgot to fix that. It should read one turn, but with the how it determines how many turns and stuff. Oh, that is not a great way to start the battle here. Yeah, the enemies are not easy at the beginning. I definitely wanted to have the difficulty that, okay, why hasn't my characters gotten turns yet? That'd be awful if I screwed it up so my characters don't get turns. Oh, okay, there we go. I was worried. Oh, yeah, they did have turns. They were confused. Um, but yeah, anyways, the difficulty is a little bit high for this because I wanted to get that feel that old older RPGs had, where you could die right at the beginning if you did something stupid. Um, I mean, I obviously I've felt a lot of more recent RPGs have lost that difficulty. Um, as the Final Fantasy series has gone on, especially. Um, oh, this is fun. This is not a good way to start this. Um, at least he attacked the enemy. So you see some of the different attacks. They have the scratch attack, which is very basic attack. Sonar is the one that does confusion, and dive has a higher damage range, so it might deal a lot of damage, but it can also go lower and deal no damage at all. And for some reason, when I was doing this, I decided not to do accuracy and evade as stats. So speed is factored into damage and defense. The idea being, if you're faster, you can hit, a vital target before they move or whatever. You get a better chance to hit, and it's easier to dodge when they're attacking you, so they don't hit you and they graze your arm instead or something like that. That's the thought behind it. And if your speed's high enough, you totally avoid their attack altogether. Um, so it is factored in as a multiplier kind of. So, you could, the more attack you have, the better speed affects that attack and gives you more of an increase. So here's the menu. I'll run over this now because I need to heal Daniel. So I do give the benefit of a lot of healing items right off the bat, just because I did make this hard, and I don't want the player to kind of be stuck in a position where, well, I'm out of healing items and I can't do anything right in the first area, because that would be a dick move. Oh, well, that was fixed. Right now the cursor for characters is doing weird things. So there we go, another bug that I did not foresee. We'll go over the menu. There's items, obviously. You got equip. I don't really need to explain that. You can see their status, how many points they need to level up and whatnot, what their equipment is. Eventually I'll probably have pictures too. I actually did make a picture for Lucent, but it's not quite, I haven't altered this yet, and I haven't made pictures for everyone yet. These two don't do anything yet. The books thing will have data on enemies you've seen, and I'm not 100% sure how it's going to be unlocked. There's different levels of data. So let's say it's your first time seeing the bats, you won't know everything about them right away. And based on certain things, you start to unlock more, like how much max health they have. So you can see, okay, they have this much health left, and this is their max health. And seeing how much damage they, stuff like that. And there'll also be books for abilities and other stuff. And I do want to have, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's hidden side quests and what I call secret scenes. The first one actually is in the first town. If you go into a certain building, which you'd hope the player would want to explore, and the building's the library, where you can, sorry about that, where you can get more data on different monsters and other information. So it's an important place to go. There's the first secret scene that isn't pivotal to the plot, but it does give character development. And I do want to have a system where as you get them, it kind of gives you hints as to how to get more of those scenes. And there's going to be a lot of them, and some of them will be very funny. Some of them will foreshadow or give some kind of hints as to things that are going on in the future of the story, because it is supposed to be part of a series. Options kind of is reasonable, and then saving and continuing. So we will continue on. This would be a tutorial area. I haven't designed it yet. Oh, now we see the rats. I call it poison bite, but I have it designed as infection, just so that it's not the cliche poison. I might change it, I might not. Now, poison in this game, or infection, works differently, and actually all the stats work differently from how they do in a lot of other RPGs. So in this instance, the infection status, rather than just a percent of HP or something, there's infection damage. So they take so let's, actually I have a debugger thing going in the background here. So Lucent got hit twice with infection, so he's about to take a lot of damage. So the first one was 14. I might actually scale that back a little bit because that's a bit brutal. Anyways, the first one was 14. So when he does his action, he's going to take 14 damage from that. But also, since he got hit with it again, it stacks. So he got hit with another 17. So now he's at 31. So when he attacks, he's going to take 31 damage after that. That's like the poison damage. Then it's going to be multiplied by a factor of 0.6, so it'll go down to 18. So it's a little above half, and it'll go down every turn by that same factor by 6/10, or go down by 4/10, multiplied by 6/10. Anyways, it goes down by that same factor every time until it's gone. So it can be rather brutal. And it makes it a little bit different from how it's done in other games. And other statuses are the same, like if you get a boost or a reduction in your attack or defense, it's the same thing, it's a multiplier. So as the player, if you have a poison attack or an infection attack, as I called it, um, then then if you power it up, then it's going to be more effective. But if you don't power it up, it's not going to be like, let's say, you have your magic user using poison at level 1, you'll get it'll be decently powerful on the first enemies. It might deal 200 points of infect damage, and then they're actually getting really hurt by it when they attack. But later on, that 200 damage isn't going to be much, so you want to level that skill up. Anyways, we'll continue with this, and also thank you for the feedback, Randy. I do appreciate that. Now, the one thing my characters don't have, unfortunately, actually I'm going to back out of that, is revival items. Fortunately, they're not dealing too much damage yet. See, here's where the graphics get a little bit wonky with the menus there. Something went wrong. Okay, yeah, I fixed something until it broke. So we will continue going through this and pretend that Lucent is not about to die. Yeah, what I changed is that I had a cursor. The cursor that selects a character to use an item on would skip over dead characters. So I'd try and use a revive item on a character that was dead, and it would skip to the next character. So I changed that, and apparently changing that made it so I can't use healing items in battle, and that's going to suck later on. So I might take a pause at some point to fix that and try and talk through it while I'm focusing on my programming, which will be difficult but manageable. Okay, so now that they've leveled up, they have a little bit more resistance to those status effects. So as you can see, he did not get confused right away when he got hit by sonar. And his damage is a little bit better. Once I hit, right now they're level 2. Once they hit level 3, basically they can one-hit everything in this area. So it'll get a lot easier. So yeah, it takes a little bit less damage now from that. Oops. Trying to take a quick check of the chat here. See if anyone else is watching me, see if anything else has been said. So yeah, these guys are a lot less terrifying now. Well, they weren't that terrifying to begin with, but you know. You'll see I'm gaining ability points here, and symbols are the money. It's based off the idea that currency is a symbol of the value of an item, of whatever is being produced. Okay. Yeah, that menu, this menu needs some work. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyways, you see I was gaining ability points. I'll get to enchant far later, but every character has proficiency with the weapon, and right now the way it's set up is that it's whatever weapon they have equipped and they can learn it. And someone did point out to me, and I kind of agree, that that means they could use whatever weapon and then switch to the one they want to gain proficiency in and learn it. But I figure that if you get proficient in, say, one-hand sword technique, the weapon's going to be powerful enough that it's going to be better for them to stick with that weapon rather than switching to something else. Each character is proficient in two of the 8 different weapon types. Let me actually look up which ones they're weak against, and that's doing something weird. There we go. So Lucent is good with one-handed and two-handed swords, and Daniel is good with axes and spears. So what that means is when they get their, they can use any weapon. Any character can use any weapon. When they get proficiency, however, with Lucent's one-handed or two-handed swords, when he gains a level in proficiency, all the stats of the weapon when he uses it are multiplied by 1.25. So they go up 25% per level. So at level 4, he's got, it's twice as good. Whereas if they're using a weapon they aren't proficient with, it's only a 20% boost. So level 5 is equivalent in strength to level 4. So you can kind of try and multi-weapon for different situations. Like, at some point I'll go over what the different weapons do. So you can have different weapons, characters proficient with different weapons for different situations. Like I'll show you here. Lucent's magic power is significantly higher than Daniel's. They're his base magic power. So he makes a decent mage later on when you start to learn magic. He makes a decent backup mage. So you could give him staves that increases magic as a backup magic user. But his primary focus is supposed to be on strength and speed. And I'll get into the different weapons types a little later on here. I should probably be saving too, because it would kind of suck if I died and had to start from scratch again in the middle of this. I shouldn't die, but as I said, I did make this kind of difficult, so it is possible that could happen. We will see. I'm not sure if I have any viewers anymore. Well, the show must go on. This is going to be uploaded to YouTube later, so. This microphone picks up on a lot, so I'm sorry if you just heard me loudly take a drink of soda there. That would be awkward. Alright, so I'm going to save here, just in case. Right now, I've figured out how to do multiple save files, but I haven't implemented it yet. It actually took me I hadn't thought about the issue in a while, and when I thought about it again recently, I was like, oh, I can get it. It makes sense. But before, I really wasn't sure what to do. But now I do. So we will we'll fight more monsters that are getting progressively easier. I'm on a lift here. It's going to take me to the upper levels and the first puzzle area. So enemies, there will still be enemies here, and the way I have the encounter rate set up is that as your level goes up, the encounter rate in an area goes down, and as you go to new areas, the encounter rate is tied to with an equation that's based on your level and the challenge of the enemies. So as you go, if you stay at the same level and go into harder and harder areas, you'll encounter more and more enemies. Your chance of encountering enemies goes up. But if you're in the same area and your level is going up, then the encounter rate will drop pretty drastically. So the encounter rate's going to go up a little bit here just because this is because of the way it's set up. There's one new enemy here, the guards, and they are very important and good to fight because they drop some nice items. And here's the first guard. They are a little bit tough. Nothing I can't handle at this point, but a little bit tougher than what I've been fighting. but they drop herbs, the healing item that I have right now that heals 100 HP. And they also drop the next powerful, or the next most powerful one-handed sword. And if I'm lucky, very lucky, I'll get it right off the bat. I'm not very lucky, it looks like. But that next power sword will be very, very handy in fighting off the monsters here. It will make pretty much everything a guaranteed one-hit kill except for those guards. So anyways, this is the first puzzle area, and the encounter rate is really frustrating through here. The cursor didn't even get a chance to move. As I said, this is a prototype, so there's a lot of little glitches that I'd like to smooth out, but it's not important right now because this isn't anything I'd want to, really publish yet. So this switch goes up at first. And as this goes, I start to get a little bit confused, and I forget what I'm doing. So bear with me here. I might have to do a little bit of backtracking. I've done this a couple times recently, so I might remember it. Anyways, this is supposed to be a mine cart control unit, and I do want to add something in explaining that and kind of giving some hints to help through the puzzle, because it is the first puzzle. It shouldn't be that difficult. I'm not sure if the screen is brightening and darkening for you. It is for me. But I did recently lower my brightness on my TV because it was glaring in the middle of the night. Oh, you are still here. Okay, good. My viewers went down to 1. I thought I was one of the ones counted, but apparently there was someone else, and I didn't know about it. So cool. Yeah, at this point I won't die. The guards are the only things that really pose any significant threat, and it's not much of one at this point. Especially if they keep getting zeros on their wild swings. How much is that? I'll look it up later. A lot of those power attacks haven't been hitting. So this is supposed to spin the room around. With the graphics the way they are, I really can't do much with that. First I want to go counterclockwise. So the switch over there opened my way up to there. But now I don't need that open anymore. So we go here and set this switch down. Each switch can go up or down. Turn this twice. Hopefully I didn't forget to do something. Yay! Now my idea for combat, once I actually am really developing this, is something along the lines of Grandia, if you've ever played that. With Grandia, the character, it was turn-based, and you would select stuff from a menu, like with... Okay, just checking to see if I got the sword, because I haven't been paying attention. It's turn-based like with this or Final Fantasy. However, you also the characters would move around on the map. It wasn't like Final Fantasy. You select your action, they run up, they hit the enemy, and then they run back. Grandia, you would select the action, they'd run up to the enemy and attack, but then they'd stay there. And it made it a much more what's the word I'm looking for? Not the opposite of static, dynamic, a much more dynamic battle. I'm operating on very little sleep right now, so bear with me. There were some other things in Grandia, like attack interrupting and stuff like that, that I'm not interested in including in this, as I do want to keep the retro feel. But I think it would be really cool to have a system where you can see the characters running up and attacking the enemies, and the enemies moving. I'd like to see that, kind of like Chrono Trigger did actually. There was a lot of that in Chrono Trigger. So let's see. I can't remember if this goes up or down first. So no matter what, that opens. I'm going to cheat a little bit and try and remember, because I don't want to walk around so much that while people are watching here. Let's see. So I want up. Yeah, I think all these switches go up first. Oh no, what did I do? Okay, we're good. So yeah, no matter what, that door that opened down there is permanently open. Okay, so there you see that my characters can still be confused even at level 3. Yeah, I did run into a little problem where the armor wasn't increasing in power enough. So at a certain point, my characters were basically one-hit killing each other if they got confused. So I had to up the power of armor, which did also, some of the enemies were getting a little bit crazy difficult, and the character's power with the weapon proficiency was skyrocketing while their armor was like staying static. So you'd have characters with like 60 or 70 attack and like 40 defense. So I wanted to up defense a little bit to make it look a little bit more reasonable. Now you can see here I'm starting to collect a number of items: bat blood, bat wing, rat blood. The bloods do like very minor healing, like the bat blood heals 10 HP. It's doing really weird things right now. I need to fix it. Rat blood heals 5 HP, and the bat wing doesn't have a use yet. However, very late in the game, those items do have a use in kind of an arena system, almost, well, very different from how Final Fantasy X did it, but, similar idea. Alright, so... Oh, that one there is another, it controls the spinner room. So my end goal is, okay, so I switch. Need to remember which one I switch. Oh, I forgot to do something. I'm actually impressed with how much I'm doing this by memory. So as you can see, the encounter rate's gone down a bit because I've been leveling up. No. Stop confusing them. Yeah, that bit of text that popped up that said null, if you notice that, was I hit a button too quickly and the game was trying to target an enemy that was dead. Let's see, so right now this is facing left, so if I turn it clockwise twice, unfortunately it's rather inconvenient that it can't be seen from here. Again, it's one of the things with the prototype. This will definitely look different in its final version. Oh, there, that actually hit that time for a good amount of damage. So yeah, right now combat is pretty much, like in Final Fantasy, the X button mashing to go through combat. Ah, the short sword. Beautiful. So, go to the equip screen. Right now he doesn't have a lot of equipment. He has a small stick, but now he has a short sword. And I do have some of the item and weapon descriptions written in. I have them all written down, I believe, but they aren't implemented yet. So short sword is a sword forged for home use, named usually for killing livestock or self-defense, as opposed to, oh, I got too short. Oh, that is such a small chance of that happening. That is like a 1 in 400 chance of getting a short sword from both guards. So he also has a small stick, a long, sharp stick lucent found in the Hellenian woods. And then, while he is primarily an axe wielder, right now switching him to the short sword is the best action just because I'm probably not going to be able to learn the proficiency abilities until after I'm out of this area and actually have the weapons they want. So as you can see, actually, I'll point this out. When he has the axe, he can't change to the shield. Oh, I kind of goofed up there. I shouldn't have done that. But anyways, so note to self, don't try and select it. But the shield is whited out because an axe is two-handed. But when I switched to the sword, then he could equip a shield if I had a shield for him to equip. But that does boost his power. So now they have 31 and 29 strength, respectively, which will make them significantly stronger. Yeah, as you can see, they're basically brutalizing these enemies now. Should check the chat. Yeah, apparently blood does heal. I just wanted to make those items actually do something. Oh, and they gained a level 2. Yeah, they're pretty tough now. How far is Lucent from getting his... Oh, he's halfway there. Living on a prayer? I don't know. So then we want to switch this again. Because now, before I switched it so that it would open that path up, but I don't need that path up anymore. So then I switch it back to the one going down. So my end goal is to get into a room at the bottom. Oh, whoops, I wanted that switch the other way. Oh yeah, that top switch also resets this. So I want that up. I forgot about that. So then we turn it clockwise. We flip this switch because I don't need the room on the right open anymore. Now what that did is open a path to the north, which gives me access to that top switch again. And it's that top switch that opens the southernmost door that I need. Now this seems like a complex puzzle. This is well, no, this isn't the simplest of the puzzles I've written. There's a puzzle that isn't fully implemented later on that's basically an item collection puzzle that's kind of stupid. I couldn't think of anything else to do for that area though. And there's also a puzzle that's supposed to involve using parts of a cave as first like rope swinging thing, like Indiana Jones style, swing the whip and swing along the stalagmites, whichever one it is on the roof, and then they fall down and you can use them as platforms and you have to figure out a path using those. That's another one of the easier ones. But I actually have another one of these designed, but I haven't found a place for it yet, that's actually, I think, twice as complicated. And then there's another puzzle that has, actually I can look at them right now because I can't remember them all. So yeah, this one is... How many steps? I had it written down somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think it's like 11 or 12 steps. And then I have a 31 step puzzle that's similar to this. And then Here it is. Written down, but not on the computer. I have a 41-step puzzle. So 4 times as complicated as this one, roughly. Um, it's pretty intense. I actually quite. I don't think I've ever gotten through it without having my walkthrough handy. So it's definitely going to be something I'm going to put a lot of hints for, because it's just so crazy difficult. A little note here. If I had, whoops, if I save up there in that in the puzzle area, it'll reset the puzzle if I load, because it reloads the entire area. So I basically can't. Oh, I didn't even notice Daniel's health getting low. I can't save up there or bad things happen. I can save here because I'm out of the puzzle area. But then if I loaded, I would literally have to go through that entire puzzle again. We don't want that. So I will save once I'm actually through the whole puzzle, which I just did without a walkthrough. I'm so proud of myself right now. Yeah, I might tweak the encounter rate just for this area because it's a pain to try and figure out the puzzle when you're literally fighting enemies every, however many steps. Right now it's not a big deal. So I have had trouble. There's some really simple animated cutscene things coming up. And it did do some weird things once a little while back, but it seemed to work last time I tried to go through it. So we will see what happens this time. I'm going to save before I go up those stairs because it's a quote-unquote boss fight. Early game boss fight. Alright, so Daniel says, we'll finally be able to live in the city. We won't be orphans anymore. We can live just like everyone else. They spoke too soon. Here come the guards. And this is why it's really important to get those weapons, because otherwise this would be much more annoying. Although at this point I've leveled up enough where the guards are pretty easy. Yeah, I might want to tweak the power attacks just because they seem to do low damage more often than they deal high damage. The man in black comes in. He will be named later, but he says, "It is incredible that you could dispatch trained guards like that with such crude equipment. I almost feel sorry to meet you under these most unfortunate circumstances. You see, you seem to have picked up something that I would rather like to have in my possession. That black stone you hold, boy. Give it to me." That's where earlier they'd found the gems and that stone was highlighted. There you go. Originally there was a yes-no selection here, but either way the result was the same, so I just took that out because it was silly. Of course, even if you do choose to give it to me, I can't have you telling the guards about me, now can I? Therefore, I'm sorry to say that I'll have to give you a rather unpleasant reward for collecting this essence for me. And you go into a battle with him, which he just, like, smashes you, because he's the villain. And enemies powering up themselves still doesn't quite work using power-up spells. Basically, he has a bunch of abilities that no other enemies beyond this point that I've programmed have, so I really haven't bothered to code them in yet. Alright, so I got lazy, and I'll just summarize what this says or paraphrase and go into more detail, which is the opposite of summarizing. Anyways, I really don't know how to animate this properly, but what he's supposed to do is holding the stone, and it's supposed to be a cutscene anyway. But he's holding the stone, and the stone starts to glow, and he's like, "Oh yes, I have power." Not saying that, but the look on his face is like, "Ah yes, I found it." And then he starts to look kind of confused and then terrified. and he starts to kind of glow different colors, and then he goes poof, gone, out of existence. Um, or yeah, he fades. Okay, and now back to the less narrated version, although there is narration later on. But anyways,